Dirk, will that one early retirement be next time?
Next time. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll shoot something tomorrow.
All right. All right, it's 5:30. Welcome to the Southeast Polk School Board meeting for January 7th, 2021. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Karen, can I get roll call, please?
Handy,
Here?
Crab,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Nave,
Here.
Slings,
Here.
Crowell,
Here.
Powell,
Here. All right, we do have a quorum, so meeting is official. All right, agenda adoption. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
I should have asked, are there any changes?
There are none.
Okay. You still want a motion?
So
Okay.
moved.
Adam's got it.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Karen?
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
Yes.
Crowell,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes. Okay, so we have an agenda now. All right, district vision and mission. Do I have anybody that would like to share that with?
I'll do it, Brett.
Thank you.
Southeast Polk Community School District, learn, lead, and live. Success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
All right, thank you very much. All right, now we're set for item D, public comments. This is the time where you get to address the board for anything that may or may not be on the agenda. Jason, do we have anybody signed in yet, or? Okay,
There were none right before the meeting.
nothing. Is Mr. Bacom on?
I am President Handy. There are no public comments through our Google form sheet.
Okay, nothing so far. We'll give it 30 seconds or so to see if anybody logs on and makes any comments. We need the Jeopardy tune going right now. Not to change the subject, but while we're waiting, when's the last episode of Jeopardy? Is that this week?
I don't know.
I think I read this is the last
Was
week.
it last week?
All the last adopts are back before they,
Yeah,
did they name who they're going to,
No, they're still talking about
they're
it.
gonna have some guest hosts starting with Ken Jennings, I think, is
Yeah.
the first one I heard.
didn't Trebek hate Ken Jennings?
Probably because he took so much money from him. Okay, I think it's 5:33, the clock. We don't have any public comments, so we'll move forward. E, consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Give it to Mr. Fisher.
Can I make
Any,
comments?
questions, comments?
First, I want to make sure that all the early retirements know how much we appreciate their years of service to the students and to the community and to the school district. You all will be greatly missed. And we hope that you'll enjoy retirement, and we truly appreciate your service to our community and to our students. You've made a difference.
Yes, and I'll just echo that. Congratulations on your new venture, even though you have a few more months with us. Enjoy it and whatever it may be. So thank you very much. Anybody else?
Big shoes.
Yes, a lot of experience going out the door there, so. All right, any other comments or questions on the consent agenda? All right, Karen?
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
Yes.
Crowell,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
All right, old new business. We'll start with dropout prevention at-risk program plan.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
Kevin's online if people have any.
Oh,
questions.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
there's no presentation for this. I'm sorry. This is something.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. I think Dr. Latham's available as well.
All right, no questions, and we'll go ahead and take roll, Karen.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
Yes,
Corral,
Yeah.
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
All right, B, dropout prevention at-risk modified supplemental amount. I don't have the amount in front of me. If somebody could just read that for me.
It's-
1,716,948.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is this a text specific resolution that we have to have the amount in it?
Yes.
You want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve the maximum modified supplemental amount of $1,716,948 for dropout prevention and at-risk programming for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second,
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Bacom or Dr. Lubnick? Okay, Karen?
Slings,
yes,
Corral,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, C, roof projects. We need to set a public hearing date for plans and specifications for the roof project. And it looks like it's the junior high and the high school.
motion to approve, or to set the date for the public hearing on February 4th for the high school and junior high roof project.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or anything? Okay,
Kevin, is the revised plan adjusting for the insurance work we had done?
Correct. Yes. They will be.
Okay.
Yes.
anyone? All right, Karen?
Corral,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
Yes,
All right, public hearing's been set. Now we need approval of architect for roof projects. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion to approve the architecture or architect for the roof projects.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments before we?
did our attorneys review the agreement to make sure everything was fine? Dirk?
Yes, and it was a quick review. Shine's been our architect on these projects for the last couple of years, so there are no changes from the previous agreement.
Okay,
Awesome. All right, Karen?
Powell,
Yes.
Handy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
yes,
Corral,
Yes.
All right, very well. 2D, audit approval. Mr. Bacom?
Thank you, President Handy. On the call with us is audit partner from Melton Bonsack and from Melton, I'm sorry, is Mia. She's out with us remotely. We are going to I'm going to attempt to run the slides from my office, and Mia will be speaking for the audit's behalf with these slides here. I know this is one of the highlight points for many of you people out there in the world. I'm surprised Mr. Horton didn't give me a drum roll, but here we go with their presentation.
If you want one,
It's a highlight for me.
good enough.
yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here this evening, although remote, and to go through the slides. And I'm going to start, the first slide talks about the deliverables and the required communications. Perfect. Thank you. Slide 2. So there are 3 deliverables. There is the large bound comprehensive annual financial report with the district's financial statements, the management's discussion and analysis, and the compliance section and statistical section. One thing I would like to comment is Kevin does a very nice job of putting summary information together in the management's discussion and analysis. And so if you are short on time, definitely the MD&A is the place to focus in on. There are also 2 letters, a board communication letter and a control deficiency letter. And those communications primarily just let you know that in your case that there were no significant issues in performing the audit, and lets you know of significant estimates that are in the year-end audit. And for the district, along with all the Iowa districts, those significant estimates are your pension liability program through the Iowa Public Employees Retirement System and the other post-employment benefit liability, which is the requirement by the state that retirees have the option to stay on the district's health plan. And those are not anticipated to be different or change anytime in the future. The good news is the next several bullets, which lets you know that there were all unmodified opinions on the audits performed. So there was an unmodified opinion on the financial statement audit, which means you have, quote, a clean opinion on the financial statements, that they follow along with generally accepted accounting principles and meet all the requirements of those accounting principles. There's an unmodified opinion over your government auditing standards audit. And by that, we mean when we look at the district's compliance with laws and regulations and compare that to also state statutes, there were no findings to report. And same with your federal single audit. We are required to look at your significant federal programs and test those to a set of compliance elements that are established by the federal grant programs, and there were no findings. So all high marks on the report card tonight. And then slide 3 begins just some summary financial information. This is a comparison of the district's revenues for fiscal year 2020 compared to fiscal year 2019. In total, revenues were at 98.1 million compared to last year of 96.8 million. So it's an increase of 1.3 million, representing 1.3%. The largest changes are in the state foundational aid, which is the kind of gray-green column, if you will, the 5th column. That changes based on enrollment and the state legislature in terms of supplemental state aid. The legislature approved a 2% increase, or almost 2.1% increase for fiscal year 20. And enrollment is about the same as last year. So it's largely because of that supplemental aid that you see the increase. And I also wanted to point out the other column, other local revenue, which is the darker gray color. That increased about 635,000 this year. That includes an increase because of more students and open enrolled students. There were 22 more students that the district received tuition from other districts. There was also an increase of approximately 229,000 from the Southeast Polk Foundation, supplementing for Chromebooks needed for students. And then an increase of approximately 877,000 for insurance reimbursements due to storm damage that was incurred by the district with the various storms that occurred last fiscal year. And slide 4 begins the expenditures. So total expenditures for fiscal year 20 were 94.3 million. For fiscal year 2019, they were 99 million. which is a decrease of 4.8 million. That decrease is in the debt service comparison, about 4 or 5 categories over, just largely because of the debt service requirements on your bonds. The principal and interest required this year was not the same as last year. If what I like to do is look strictly at instruction and support services, those are your operating categories, whereas capital outlay and debt service will fluctuate based on the capital projects or the debt being issued or the debt being paid off. But instruction and support services are really the categories where on a daily basis, this is your operating activities. And looking at those alone, you have a total of 81.8 million this year compared to last year of 79.7 million. So it was actually an increase of 2.6%. And that was as expected. The payroll and benefits is the largest expenditure of the district, as you know. And total payroll and benefits of your 81.8 million total instruction and support services, payroll and benefits are 79.4 million of that. And compensation packages were planned for a 1 to 3% increase this year. So it's right in line with having with that expectation that you would see an increase of 2.6%. You also had an increase in FTEs. So your full-time equivalents were approximately 917 compared to last year at 886. So overall, the wage per FTE did not really move. It went from 56,400 to 56,200. So the increase in your salaries and benefits is a factor largely of the increase in full-time equivalents. Other changes though, outside of payroll and benefits, there are increases of approximately 250,000 in supplies for COVID-related expenses. And that was covered by the additional education stabilization federal grant money that the district received. And most of that was expended in fiscal year 20. There's a small portion that'll be expended in fiscal year 21. Are there any questions on the financial information?
I don't believe so. Anybody?
Slide 5. Slide 5 is a picture of the equity of the district, all activities, all funds on a more commercial basis, on a full accrual basis. So it includes debt, it includes capital assets, and total equity for fiscal year 2020 is at 75.3 million. And that's broken into these 3 categories. Most of your equity then is within the capital assets. That's the brown column. That would be your buildings and land and athletic facilities and so forth. That improved. Last year, your total equity was 71.3 million. It improved then 3.8 million, largely because of the increase in the supplemental state aid. Also, the decrease in debt that we discussed would improve the equity position on a full accrual basis. So you have less debt. Obviously, you would have an improved net position. And then the last slide shows the results of, I mentioned that we do several audits at the beginning. We do not only the financial statements, but the government auditing standards audit and a federal audit, which is the Office of Management and Budget single audit. And I would like to point out that there are no findings to report, and that's a big deal because in the past, in fact, the past 3 years, I think since 2017, the district has had a significant deficiency over the activity funds at the high school. And due to implementing additional internal controls over the collections, they were able to remove that finding this year. And so I just wanted to congratulate you on that. And there were no other new findings and no compliance findings. So it's overall it is a clean report. In terms of the federal single audit, this year we audited the child nutrition program, and we also audited the Education Stabilization Fund, the new CARES Act money program. And again, no findings to report. They all met the compliance requirements. Last, we do issue, one of the letters is called a control deficiency letter. I don't usually go into detail on it because it's not really findings, it's just operating suggestions. But I just wanted to make you aware that we did have some suggestions for management. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I do not.
Oh,
No, I was just joking because my name's not in the report. It's just
oh,
William Buffett instead.
oh.
So does Bill have any questions?
Yeah.
Does
Your
Bill have any
alter
questions?
ego. All right,
Before-
don't sure we have any questions.
Oh, okay. Before you leave, Mia, I wanted to send my gratitude for you and your audit team. You know, during this time, doing an audit in a remote style is very difficult. It was difficult for on our end. I know it's difficult on your end too. Thank you so much for your team. And just for the board's information, we do have 1 year left on our extensions with Bonsack and From Melt, and I will bring that back to you here in a couple of months to express my interest in moving forward with that additional year with them. I'd also want to send my gratitude and appreciation to the staff here within our district office. You know, when the pandemic hit, we still had to pay people. We still had to pay vendors. We still had to do all those things that needed to be done. And I appreciate the work that they did during that time and doing so under the auspices of our internal controls and keeping things in place that should be, so that we can continue to do the business like we want to do. So thank you so much for that. We've all become more veteran in our positions, but it's a good veteran. We become grizzled, and we take these experiences forward with us throughout our career. So thank you, Mia.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up because we really dig into internal controls during the COVID closure because that's where we were going to find an issue probably, and we didn't. And so it's even more exciting to report no findings knowing that. I appreciate it.
It's very difficult to get an auditor excited.
Yeah, and me on behalf of the board, thanks. I know a few of us up here have worked with you for many years, and we do appreciate you being honest about everything that goes on. And to Kevin and your crew, we appreciate it. I know since I've been on the board, you've come a long way, and we've always had good reports, and that's just because of the diligent work that you guys do, making sure that we are fiscally responsible. So thank you very much for your guys' hard work.
Yeah, I would say for the newer board members, I've been on the board, I guess this is 11. I don't know if I've looked at 12 or 11 of these, but a lot of them, and this is by far the cleanest. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to find something to ask questions about. It's like that poltergeist who comes in and says, this house is clean. It's clean. I've not seen anything like that. So even the control deficiency, which is kind of like, oh, here's some knit stuff. I mean, there's like 2 things on there, and I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Those are tiny, tiny things.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth to it, to where we know Mia would tell us.
Right.
Yes,
Something,
absolutely.
there was something wrong. 'Cause she has.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thanks for the hard
That
work.
is true. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to present. Thanks.
Move to approve?
Yeah, with the,
Guess there's that.
Chad's missing on the report, but,
Well, and they've also got your term ending next year instead of 2023.
oh, there you go. I'm not going anywhere.
Official.
Very
Well, I guess
menacing.
then for the record, I guess we just want to make sure that to replace
Chad's on the
Chad
board.
Crab with Bill Puffett on the report, if we can make that a change. And
Bill left us 2 years ago.
yeah, so Bill still represents just through Chad Crab.
That's my,
Yes.
that's my fault. I will get that corrected for next year.
I think that was the unaudited portion of the document.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, we'll make note of it for record. All right. Do I have a motion? All right, Mr. Krill. Did we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fisher. Karen?
Andy,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Nave,
Yes.
Slings,
Yes.
Crowell,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you,
audit
Mia.
is approved. Thank you. Very good job. All right, topics for discussion. We will get into item A, return to learn. Remember, this is just discussion. There will be no motions or any thing to approve. So, Dr. Lipnick?
You bet. Not much with this tonight. Remember, the board made a decision on December 8th for moving forward. So you do have updated data at your table. It's also on the agenda sheet. That front page is the dashboard data. You can see the positive cases and quarantines for both students and staff. Those are relatively low coming off the break. And that's a good thing. Although I will say that our student quarantines have, we were in the 50s to start the week, and it's 100 today. So that's
Wow.
something. And the positivity, the county positivity it kind of bottomed down in the 11%, and it's bouncing back the other direction right now. So again, things we'll keep an eye on. And then below that, you can see our building absentee rates, and just kind of looking at where those fall within the ranges, you can see that we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes for both students and staff at this point, as far as those absentee rates go.
Dr. Halupnik, the 14.7 Polk County rate, do we have any idea what our zip code is?
Yeah, it's on the next page.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that would be like the second row there. It's at 14.4 today.
Okay, thank you.
And so again, you can kind of look at that with that other data on the second page and kind of where we fall. It's a lot of repeat of the dashboard data, just in some cases put it in a different form. So that's kind of where we sit and where we fall at this point. I'd be happy to answer any other questions if anybody has them.
Are there any updates on those full-time sub positions?
I just signed the contracts the other day.
Yeah,
so-
I'm not sure if Joe's on here, if he can hop in and help me out here, because I'm frozen on a full number. I know we've made some progress. I know not all of them have been hired at this point, but I know we've made progress. I'm not
Yes.
sure if Joe
Yes,
has
I would-
that info in front of him or not.
Yeah, I would say the exact same thing. We have not hired them all yet, but I'm getting a lot of good feedback from the ones who have been hired or from the principals who've hired them. And holy cow, they've hit the ground running. So that part's been really, really good. I know our people are happy to have, another person to use on a regular basis and get to know them at the same time. So it's been really positive so far.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Sure.
I'll just say, it looks like even though the numbers are high on the quarantine, and it's good to see that the close contacts are not at the school level. So again, it just shows that we are doing our effort, doing our best to keep the mitigation down. So I would like to see those numbers obviously a lot lower. So that is a concern that But glad to see that our staff is doing their part and making sure that people are wearing their masks and such, so.
So do you think, Jordan, is the student body ready for Monday? Yeah?
I think so for sure. I think everybody's excited to be able to go back. Yeah, I'd say for sure. Doing our part as well. I think we made sure to wear our mask, and I kind of chuckled when I came in here today because as soon as I got in here, I don't know if you saw, but I took my wipe, I wiped down, I did hand sanitizer, and I was like, oh wait, I'm not necessarily in school, but it's a habit now that we've been taught, and I think every student knows that. We wipe our desk when we get to school, we wipe when we get back, and I think we're all excited, and I think we're definitely ready. And it's definitely a shot, so I'm super excited to see what happens.
Yep, and definitely does take the students' part, so thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jordan.
Any other questions for Dr. Lupnick?
If not, we can kind of jump right into the next agenda item, and I think Amy Chebahar is on here. Jason, kind of give us an update on health services. There's some news on vaccine, not as much as we want to hear, but some.
Yes, hello, everybody. I do have an update on the vaccine. We've kind of learned quite a bit this week about it, and just wanted to give you kind of a general basic rundown of how they're deciding what to do with that. So if you probably know, the CDC, the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, recommended the vaccine be administered in 3 different phases, the phase 1A, 1B, and 1C. And they've identified groups to be included in each of those phases. And so then when Iowa, when it comes down to the state level, the Infectious Disease Advisory Committee, that's made up of healthcare professionals, doctors, takes a look at those recommendations, and then they recommend certain priority groups within each phase to receive the vaccine. And then they also give local public health agencies guidance on how to prioritize those groups when allocating the limited doses of vaccine that's available. So their latest recommendations came out on December 18th, and those are for the people included in phase 1A. And on Tuesday, we learned that school nurses and other health personnel in the school setting were bumped up to phase 1A. So that's really good news for us. They have not released recommendations for those in group 1B yet. So the 1B group includes the bulk of the education employees. So Polk County is currently working through phase 1A, and you've probably heard they're trying to work through the major health systems and long-term care facilities first. They've told us they've got the 3 major health systems and then over 200 long-term care facilities, staff and residents to get through. But they were able to just this week, like I said, release the second priority group in that phase. And so we can start scheduling vaccine right now. They had told us Monday, January 11th, we could start scheduling that, but there's been a couple of nurses able to get their vaccine even last night yet. So those in that group are their community health care personnel working in public health, community health settings. And so obviously school health office falls right into that category. So the nurses and health aides, secretaries that cover that are included in those. So we can schedule appointments at select pharmacies throughout the metro and at Polk County Health Department. And of course, they're limited. The appointments are limited on the amount of vaccine that they get. So that phase will likely continue, they've told us, through the first quarter of 2021. And then right after that, jump into phase 1B, like I said, includes the bulk of the education personnel. So that's really good news on our part. Hopefully things will just keep rolling that way. Does anybody have any questions for me on the vaccines? No.
So for teachers and support staff, we're looking at maybe late in the school year then, or towards the tail end?
They said first quarter. So hoping end of March, mid-spring, I would say.
And I assume that's all based on availability of doses of the vaccine. So if that's not available, that time change or that schedule as well. Okay.
Yep, correct. They told us that they get their allocation weekly, and it just depends on how much they get every week.
Is this the one dose or do they have to do is this the two?
So to be fully vaccinated, you have to get 2 doses, and it would be whichever one you need at the time. So the first dose, then you have to wait 28 days to get the second dose. I know some hospital staff have already gotten their second dose, so they are giving the second dose on time to those people that need it.
Any other questions for Ms. Chohar? All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like professional development update.
You bet.
Is that-
Joe Ellen's out here.
No, there she is.
Right here. All right, good evening, board. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. There we go. Do you see the presentation on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. What I wanted to share tonight is to give you a little bit of an update around the assessments and our assessment plan for moving forward. And this will be the topic of the district portion of the staff development on January 18th as well. January 18th is a staff development day. Half of the day will be on the district portion, which is assessments, and the other half of the day will be building time for building initiatives and collaboration. So we're looking forward to that day to be able to work together. The assessment updates will be presented virtually, and there's some training involved. So I'll share a little bit of that with you tonight. The current guidance that we have for assessments is within Senate File 2310, and it identifies and requires some state assessments for this year. As you remember from last year, many of the assessments were canceled as a result of the pandemic. And again, this is, as we have been from the get-go, this is a flexible stance. This is what it is today. I'll be at a meeting tomorrow where there's another update, but we're moving forward with a plan to administer the assessments, and we'll see if there are any changes along the way. But the current legislative action would indicate that these are required. So as we look at our own assessment plan, these are the assessments that we have been and will be administering throughout the year. So the first one is FAST. We give those assessments in both English language arts and math. We give those in the fall, the mid-year, and the spring, and we progress monitor. We provide interventions and progress monitor students who are not meeting benchmark. So we have administered the fall assessments for both students in the remote and in the building. And we are ramping up right now to administer the winter assessments for both ELA and math. ELPA 21 is for our English learners, and we were able to administer that in the fall to our remote learners. The state is requiring that it is in-person testing for mid-year testing because of the sounds that are used for the learners to listen to. So we are working on a plan to bring those students in a place that has been isolated from the rest of the building with all the safety precautions to administer those assessments. Those will begin in February and go through the end of March. Dynamic learning maps, DLM, is the alternate assessment. That's given to about less than 10% of our students who have IEPs, where taking the traditional assessment of ISASP wouldn't be appropriate for their needs. So overall, our special ed population is about 10%, and about 10% of those students take the alternate assessment. In the fall, it was recommended, but not required. In the winter and spring, it is now required. So we are working on plans. Those are all administered individually. So we're making individual plans to administer those assessments. Gold is a preschool assessment. And so we usually begin to give that in the spring, from spring break on, and we will be administering that to all students, including those who are in the remote pathway. And then we have set up our dates to administer ISASP, which is the former Iowa assessments. So our end of year assessment, we've only given it once. The first year of these new assessments was 2 years ago, and then it was not administered last year. So at this time, there is not, let me say, at this time, the state is planning that everyone will administer it. They have not yet identified a solution for what that might look like for remote learners. While we can get a secure browser for students to take it online, it is still in state code that needs to be proctored by a certified teacher. And so there are some things obviously that the state will need to work out in order to have that play out. And we are considering different scenarios that we could provide for our students to make sure that they have an opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge at that spring test. So as we look at our professional development agenda for January 18th, we will spend some time going over the district plan for assessments. And that not only includes these assessments, but our assessments that we use at the formative level, at the classroom level, and how we're collecting that data and using that to guide instruction. There is a training that is required if you are administering the ISASP. This training must be taken before you can administer the test. And so we will be providing opportunity during the PD for teachers to complete this required training. Also look at the reports, especially those and the formula that they'll use for growth, which is going to be tricky since we did not have an assessment last year. And then looking at our next steps as we prepare the things that we can do to help students be successful with that assessment. We're also looking at this day, there's been some new legislation, Chapter 103, on isolation and room clears. And there is training required for that as well. It is not completed yet at the state level. So if it is completed by the 18th, we will be providing that opportunity for teachers to complete that as well during professional development time. So it almost sounds normal. There's still a pandemic twist, obviously, as we look at students in the different pathways. But we are gearing up to move forward with the assessment plan to collect data and evidence to help us set goals and make decisions for upcoming school years. So that is our plan for the day. Any questions or feedback in regards to the professional learning or the assessment plan?
Well thought out. Does anybody have any questions that will last 17 more minutes?
I can do more slides.
Just, if you have something important, sure, but
I know, yes.
just got to give Lori a hard time and Dirk. All right, if there's
Thank you.
nothing,
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
and just because I need to wait until 6:16.
No, you don't.
Anybody else have anything for the good? All right, I guess we'll ask for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, All in favor?